Well, let's start with some international news first, where New York City has been on the edge after an attempted terror attack. An explosion took place in a subway near the busy Port Authority bus terminal at around 7:30 a.m. local time on Monday, just when people were starting their day and heading to work. The officials have identified a 27-year-old Bangladeshi man, Aqaib Ullah, as the suspect who had tried to detonate a pipe bomb that was strapped to his body. But the bomb failed to go off due to some malfunction, and the suspect has now been taken into custody by the police, and officials say that he is said to have acted alone and had also visited Bangladesh last year. He's amongst the 4 people suffering non-life-threatening injuries after the explosion. Foreign ministers from the European Union have rejected US President Donald Trump's move to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. This came as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went to Europe to ask allies to join the United States in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The European Union has, however, called the move as a blow to the peace process in the Middle East. Netanyahu was on his first visit to the European Union headquarters in Brussels and said that Donald Trump's move had helped for the peace process, adding that recognizing the reality on the ground is the substance of peace and the foundation of peace. Opposition parties in Venezuela will not be bullied out of participating in future elections, a leading anti-government politician has said, rejecting threats a day earlier by President Nicolas Maduro, as the ruling socialists captured a majority of mayoral seats across Venezuela on Sunday. Maduro said that the opposition parties will be banned from future elections as punishment for boycotting the races. 3 of the 4 biggest opposition parties have refused to take part in Sunday's contest, protesting at what they've called as an electoral system that's rigged by a dictator. The Peruvian authorities have issued a health alert on Monday after the alleged contamination of children's milk products from France. The Food Safety Directorate has warned that there could be contaminated products in supermarkets, and he's also urged the public to not consume the milk products, and has said that authorities have halted the distribution of milk product Gloria Infant Stage 3 with expiration dates from June through November 2019. The company Gloria, which imports lactoless products into Peru, said that imported units do not present any health hazards because the French government had referred in their warning to 4 batches of tainted milk that had not yet been sent to Peru. President Vladimir Putin has ordered Russian forces in Syria to start withdrawing, saying that after a 2-year military campaign, Moscow and Damascus have achieved their mission of destroying the Islamic State. Vladimir Putin made the announcement during a surprise visit to a Russian airbase in Syria's Latakia province, where he held talks with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and addressed Russian military servicemen. The Russian and Syrian leaders then held a meeting with 2 countries' military where they commended servicemen on the operation. The Ukrainian opposition figure Mikhail Saakashvili was freed from detention on Monday after a Ukrainian judge turned down the prosecutor's request to place him under house arrest. The president of his native Georgia for 9 years until 2013, Saakashvili moved to Ukraine after a popular uprising there and served under President Petro Poroshenko as a regional governor before falling out with the Ukrainian leader. The 49-year-old accuses the Ukrainian authorities of widespread corruption. Mateusz Morawiecki was sworn in as Poland's new Prime Minister on Monday, replacing Beata Szydło, who became a Deputy Prime Minister. The ruling Law and Justice Party has sacked the popular Szydło last week in a bid to improve Poland's image abroad and also to prepare the Conservatives for a series of elections. The Morawiecki, who is 49 years old, will have to defend Poland before the European Union, which has been in conflict in Warsaw over sweeping changes to state institutions, which critics have said has subverted democracy and the rule of law in the country. A memorial service was held in the Congolese town of Beni on Monday for 14 Tanzanian United Nations peacekeepers who were killed in a raid on their base on Friday. The suspected Ugandan rebels killed about 14 Tanzanian United Nations peacekeepers and wounded more than 50 others in Congo in an assault which the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday called the worst attack on the organization in recent history. The UN officials have said that they suspected the militants from the Allied Democratic Forces staged the assault on the base in the town of Semuliki in North Kiev's Beni territory. The former California's governor turned climate action campaigner and former Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger and Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo reunited in Paris on Monday to give an update on their local action climate plan, with Schwarzenegger promised to pick up the slack after US President Donald Trump dropped out of the Paris Agreement. The Schwarzenegger and Hidalgo also signed their own climate agreements in April, uniting the efforts of the two organizations that they chair against climate change. There are reports of Christmas tree shortages in parts of the United States after farms have stopped planting trees during the recession 8 years ago. The National Christmas Tree Association estimated last year that the average tree cost was about $75. That has almost doubled up the cost since 2008, and those prices are only expected to go higher this season. Alright, let's now shift our focus to some news from India, where India's Commerce and Industry Minister has expressed India's support for the World Trade Organization at the group's 11th ministerial meeting in Buenos Aires. And even as the US representatives have criticized the organization, the US Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, who has said that he does not want major agreements out of the meeting, voiced concerns that the WTO was becoming a litigation-centered organization. The fresh protests erupted in eastern India on Monday to condemn US President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The members of the Socialist Unity Centre of India, a communist party, took to the streets of Kolkata city and burned effigies of Donald Trump. A similar protests also played out in Bhubaneswar city, where agitators denounced the announcement by the Trump administration. Trump recently had recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and it also announced that his administration will begin a process of moving the US embassy in Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The Beggars Free City drive started in Hyderabad. Once again, it was ended after rumors were spread that the drive was started because of Ivanka Trump's visit to the city last month. The police officials have said that 2 rehabilitation homes have been set up for beggars, where they're being provided with mattresses and cots. A police official has also said that the beggars are also being given some educational classes as well. The former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has demanded an apology from his successor Narendra Modi for allegedly spreading canards and falsehoods linking his meeting with Pakistani dignitaries with the Gujarat elections. Now, Manmohan Singh said that the accusations were driven by the fear of imminent defeat in the Gujarat polls. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi attended a cultural program depicting Indian culture in New Delhi on Monday. Wang, who was accompanied by his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj, saw different Indian classical dance forms such as Bharatanatyam, Odissi and Kathak. The ministers also facilitated the performers after the event. Earlier in the day, the duo, along with their Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, attended the foreign ministerial meet of Russia, India, China trilateral grouping. Only about 20% students from business schools are landing job offers, making the current placement year the most challenging in recent times, according to an ASSOCHAM report. The ASSOCHAM report has said that job opportunities for business school students are drying up on account of factors like demonetization, lackluster business sentiment, and also the stalling of new business projects. The 4 people have been arrested from Yamuna embankment area in Greater Noida for allegedly carrying out illegal mining activities. Now, Chua SDM along with other officials and the police have conducted a raid in Jupa area and have found several men engaged in illegal mining. The police have also managed to arrest 4 others while the others have fled from the area. An electronics goods trader who was abducted by 2 men, including one of his former employees, was rescued from Niloti Extension in Outer Delhi. S. Gupta was abducted on the 9th of December when he was on his way to his showroom at Paschim Vihar. The entrance gates of the Janpath metro station in New Delhi were shut briefly on Monday evening due to a protest by a group of Tibetans. Delhi Metro Rail Corporation officials have said that the gates were shut for about an hour. The police have also said that the activists were protesting near the gates, following which 9 of them were detained. The Weather Department has predicted that snow and rains will continue in the Kashmir Valley, finally ending a long-stretched dry spell. The National Highway and Mughal Road both had to be shut due to the bad weather and will be opened only after the clearance. Now, the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, have announced that India will be playing hosts to Afghanistan to help mark their debut in Test cricket. The decision was taken at Monday's special general body meeting in New Delhi. Afghanistan were granted Test playing status alongside Ireland by the International Cricket Council (ICC) in the month of June. The Pakistan Cricket Board has banned former opener Nasir Jamshid for a year for spot fixing in the Pakistan Super League. An anti-corruption tribunal has found him guilty for non-cooperation and he was arrested by the British authorities in the month of February over the case. The 28-year-old is the 5th player to face sanctions for the scandal which have marred the 2nd season of the PSL earlier this year. The PCB believes that Nasir Jamshid, who is currently out on bail, was the mastermind of the fixing scandal.